Hey everybody, Andre here, and today we're going to talk about the circle of fifths. So what is the circle of fifths? It is a tool to help you understand a variety of concepts in tonal music. So before we start, there's two things that you need to know. So first of all, what a major scale is. Major scale, kind of like a basic starting point, a basic pattern of pitches. So what every major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay? So let's keep that there, and I'll explain when we get there. And then up here, I'm going to draw a little budget piano. Nothing fancy, not a Steinway, but we do what we can. So we have a little budget piano there, and I'll explain when we get there as well. Let me draw and color in these keys. Cool. So let's start the circle of fifths. And the best way I find is to actually use a clock, like a standard 12-hour clock. So you got 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, okay? And then internally, you have 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11. So just like a standard clock, just look at your wristwatch or something, whatever you want to do to sort that out, okay? And then we choose our first key, which is C major. Now, why C major? Well, if we look back over here at this piano keyboard, you can see a pattern, okay? So you have 2 black keys and 3 black keys, and then the rest are these white keys. So this pattern on a piano will repeat over and over and over again, okay? The first note in this pattern is C. And so if you go with every white key here, C to D, D to E, E to F, F to G, G to A to B, there is your C major scale. And then B goes to C, and it starts all over again. So let's look over here, just to confirm. So C to D, that's a whole step. D to E, that's a whole step. E to F, half step. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. And then when it repeats, B to C is a half step. There you go. So this is the basis for what we're dealing with here, okay? So every single one of these major scales is going to use that pattern. So why is it called the circle of fifths? Well, each subsequent key, each subsequent little area here is going to be a fifth away. So when we move to the right, we're going to go up by a fifth, and when we go to the left, we're going to go down by a fifth. Okay? So what's up a fifth from C? Well, C, D, E, F, G. C, D, E, F, G. G major is the next one. And as we go, I'm just going to eliminate these lines just to make it look a little cleaner. So G major, well, let's just confirm really quick. I'm not going to do this for every one, but just sort of kind of you get the pattern. So G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. B to C, half step, okay. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. Now we need another whole step. So if we go to F here, that's not going to work. So what we do is we go to F sharp. That's a whole step. E to F sharp. And then half step to G. So G is our first sharp key. So sharps are on the right, okay? So G is our first sharp key. We're going to repeat this pattern. What's up a fifth from G? G, A, B, C, D, D major. What's up a fifth from D? A major. What's up a fifth from A? E major. What's up a fifth from E? B major. What's up a fifth from B? Now, here's where we have to think a little bit. So B, up a whole step, C sharp, up a whole step, D sharp, half step E, up a whole step, F sharp. Remember, F sharp was our first sharp key, or our first sharp note, okay? So the next sharp major key is F sharp, not F. Be careful, okay? And then finally, our last sharp major key is C sharp. Just follow that pattern. You don't have, or we don't have, other sharp keys after this, because after this you'd get G sharp. And the reason for that is kind of practical, because once you get into G sharp major, you actually need to use F double sharp. And that's just a little extra. We don't need that in our lives. It's too complicated. Okay? But I mean, composers surely have written in that key. It's just not a standard, naturally occurring thing that we want to worry about. Okay? Certainly not for this application. So we have our 7 sharp keys. We have kind of C is neutral, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sharp keys. The same can be done on the other side. If we go to the left of the circle of fifths, we get our flats. Okay, we got our flats. So if you go down a fifth from C, C, B, A, G, F. Okay, so F is our first flat key. Now what does that mean for us? Well, let's follow the pattern. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A half step up from A. It's not A sharp, right? Because that wouldn't fit the pattern. A and A sharp are the same pitch class. So we actually write it as B flat. In the key of F, our first accidental is B flat. Okay? After that, we keep going down by a fifth. F, E, D, C. Remember what was just flatted. It's not going to be B natural, right? It's going to be B flat. Keep going down. B flat. A, G, F. It's not going to be E natural. It's going to be E flat. So after this point, I mean, I'll let you sort out the pattern on your own as practice. But if you keep going down this way, you get to A flat. And now you get to what are called the enharmonic keys. And what this word means is it means that there are keys that are spelled differently, but they sound the same. So the first enharmonic key that we're going to deal with is D flat major. D flat major and C sharp major, they sound the same. They just look differently. One has sharps, one has flats. That's all it is. The next one is G flat major, and the next one is C flat major. So I know it didn't end up like a perfect circle, but that's okay. So we end up having our, let's call it an egg of fifths, okay, an oval of fifths, which is fine. So let's just recap. With G, our first sharp was F sharp. Then with D, we have F sharp and we add a C sharp. With A, we have these two and add a G sharp. With E, you add a D sharp. With B, you add an A sharp. With F sharp, you add an E sharp. And then finally, with C sharp, you add a B sharp. So that's your order, okay? And then with the flats, our first flat is B flat. Then it's E flat. Then it's A flat. Then it's D flat. Then it's G flat. Then it's C flat. And then our last flat is F flat. So this is a lot of information so far, okay? So at this point, what our circle of fifths is telling us is we have every single possible major key and what flats and sharps are used in them. So if you are looking at a piece of music, you have a 5-line staff, and you have a treble clef, and you have a key signature that looks kind of like this. Okay, you got 4 flats: B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. What you can do is you go, all right, 1 flat, 2 flat, 3 flat, 4 flats. This is the key of A flat major. There you go. Let's do another one. Let's say we're going to do a bass clef one. And you have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharps. We're in the key of B major. That's the simplest use of the circle of fifths right there. But we're not done yet. There's also an internal circle of fifths. And that has to do with the relative minor. So what does that mean? Well, each scale has a related version. On the 6th scale degree of the major scale, we have what's called the relative minor. So let's just write out C major just for a sec. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Cool. So if you count to the 6th scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you start the same pattern but on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, we get an A minor scale, A natural minor. Now, I'm not going to go into the different minor scales in this video. There are 3 naturally occurring diatonic minor scales. But that's basically it, right? On the 6th scale degree, you get the relative minor. So what relative means is that it uses the same key signature. Notice that this scale doesn't have any accidentals, just like C major. So C major and A minor don't have any accidentals. That's why they are related. They are relative. This time I'm going to start with the flat keys. Okay? So A minor. And notice how I use capital letters for major and lowercase for minor. That's just a convenient way to not mess yourself up. Okay? So F major, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Let's count to the 6th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. D. Great. D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D. D natural minor. Same key signature, different starting note. They're related. D minor. The same thing can be done for every single key. For B flat, it would be G minor. For E flat, it would be C minor. A flat would be F. For D flat minor, or excuse me, for D flat major, it'll be B flat minor. For G flat, it'll be E flat minor. And for C flat, it'll be A flat minor. On the flip side, for the sharp keys, E minor, B minor, F sharp minor, C sharp minor, G sharp minor, D sharp minor, and A sharp minor. Okay, now we have our complete circle of fifths. So now what? What can you actually do with this? Well, besides just figuring out the keys that have, how many sharps, how many flats, whatever, okay? There's actually a couple of other utilities. So let me show you some. First of all, if you just go straight across, let's go just draw straight across from C down to F sharp. That's a tritone. That is a diminished fifth or augmented fourth. And that'll work for every single one. So we can draw like an axis of symmetry. F to B, right? There's a tritone. B flat to E, tritone. E flat to A, tritone. So you can find intervals throughout the circle of fifths. So if you're struggling with, sorting out your intervals, you can use the circle of fifths to help you quickly identify, hey, that's a tritone. That's pretty cool. Of course, we already know about our perfect fifths, right? C to G, perfect fifth. G to D, perfect fifth. C to F, perfect fifth. If you flip it around, right? If you go up to G, that's a perfect fifth. But if you go down to G, that's a perfect fourth. If you go up to F instead of down to F, that's a perfect fourth. So that's another interval that you can sort out. If you skip every other note, is a whole step. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. Cool. If you skip every other note, you get a major sixth. So there are lots of different patterns that you can use to sort out a variety of intervals. So that's pretty cool. So circle of fifths can tell you how many sharps or flats are in a key, And it can tell you a variety of different intervals without actually having to go ahead and count it out and think about it, as long as you know what to look for. That's not the end. The most important thing that a circle of fifths can tell you is relationships between keys. Key relationships. Super important. Arguably the most important thing that a circle of fifths can do. So let's start simple. Let's start with C major. C major is our tonic for a moment. Now you're probably thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. Tonic? What are you talking about? In every single major key, you have what are called diatonic chords. Chords that fit the scale just by nature of the notes. So if you take like a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and you stack thirds on top of each of those notes, you can get the diatonic set. I've talked about this in some previous videos, so you can go back and check stuff out. But basically, in every single major key, you have 1, which is major. You have 2, which is minor. You have 3, which is minor. You have 4, which is major. You have 5, which is major. And you have 6, which is minor. And you have 7, which is diminished. So like a chord built on C is C major. A chord built on D, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. That's in C major. You can do this for any key, right? If you take A major, right? A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished. It'll work for every single key. Maybe I'll make a dedicated video for diatonic chords. So if I should do that, let me know in the comments below. Also, just feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to help and help you understand this stuff. So, in C major, C is 1. D is 2. E is 3. F is 4. G is 5. A is 6. Notice how there's no diminished tonic, because in tonal music we don't have diminished keys. But basically, we can draw this shape, this little pentagon thing. The chords, the keys in this shape are what are called closely related keys. And what you can do with this is that you can easily modulate from one to another one of these keys by using common chord. So what a common chord is a chord that is in both keys. Let's say we're in C major and we're in the key of F major. C and F are going to have several identical chords, except the ones that have a B, because in C major, B is natural, and in F, B is flat. But every other chord, like a C major chord, is going to be C major and C major in both keys. An F major chord is going to be F major, F major. D minor is going to be a D minor in both keys. So you can use common chords to modulate here. This works everywhere on the circle of fifths. So I'm going to draw one over here. It's not exactly a pentagon, but that's okay. So A flat major, 1. What's 2? B flat. What's 3? C minor, right? What's 4? D flat major. What's 5? E flat. What's 6? F minor. Those are the closely related keys to A flat major. You can do this everywhere. You can do this everywhere. And it's really cool because it tells you what's closely related. And on the flip side of that, it tells you what's distant, right? What is not a closely related key? So modulating from A flat to D major, for example, a tritone away, it's not going to be as simple with a common chord, right? Because there's not going to be too much in common between D major and A flat, right? So it'll require some extra steps to smoothly go from A flat to D flat. I mean, obviously you can just go like bam, bam, direct modulation, but you know, a lot of music is a little bit more subtle than that, right? So those are the things that you can use the circle of fifths for. So just to recap, the circle of fifths is good for how many accidentals in a key. The same virtue is what key am I in? It can tell you the relative keys. It can tell you a variety of intervals, various intervals. And it can tell you key relationships, close and distant, for modulation purposes. So there you go, folks. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you learned something. If you did, please consider liking the video. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm as I try to grow this channel. If you want to see more music theory content or any of my other stuff, do subscribe. I've got a whole bunch of stuff on this channel that I think you might be interested in. And if you have any suggestions for other topics, do let me know. Yeah, drop a comment down below. Happy to make a bunch of videos. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.